website, Jason?
Oh, God, it's so much work.
It's so much work. I took it all for granted. I was like, it's the web, right? It just fucking writes itself, right? I mean, you put in your login information, and they're just like, the internet's like, hey, do you want a Tumblr? Do you want a Twitter account? Do you want to have the right name on fucking every single account that you have? I mean...
Oh, and then there's seeing you every goddamn day.
Yes, well, there's that as well. It's funny how last night you were like, hey, we're going to this show if you want to show up. And I'm like, I think I just want to eat some Taco Bell and watch some anime because...
Yeah. Yeah, I was sitting there yesterday and I was like, man, I want to play some video games for leisure.
Yeah.
Without a microphone. Without trying to be funny, just sitting on my couch. I just want to sit on my couch and play something and not worry about, oh, well, that remark wasn't very humorous. Not worry if we're recording or not. So, is it recording? Oh, we fucked up the recording. We got to start over.
Yeah, it's actually funny how I think that depending on how things go, because we're so busy right now, that I want to try and finish that Fuse game so that we could do a review, or so that I could do a review of it, just to be like, hey, I played this game.
What the hell with that Fuse game?
Well, I already put like 6 hours into it. I might as well just see it all the way through.
I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the fact that we haven't been really reviewing anything yet.
Mm-hmm.
Yet?
Yes.
Oh, wait. Hey, just so you know, this is the Ragecast.
Hey, welcome everybody to the first episode of the Ragecast. Sorry, we're a little bit off our game. We're still getting this shit figured out. But
I'm Jason.
I am Jeff, and so what were you saying? You're not don't play Fuse?
So now that we haven't really been playing like a lot of games for review, I keep finding stuff now. It's like, ooh, I want to play that. And you know when the last time I said I want to play that was?
Long time ago.
2011.
Yeah, well, it's funny how we've been trying to record freaking Call of Juarez Gunslinger for like a week now. It seems like every time we get ready to do it, it's like, well, let's just do it tomorrow because we get technical problems or whatever. And then I come over to your house yesterday, and you're like, I totally bought that Gunslinger game. I think I want to just play it.
Yeah. I bought that. I bought Castle Storm. And really soon, maybe even by the time this recording is up, Marvel Heroes comes out for the PC.
What,
and of
okay,
course,
is that
me being a big Marvel nerd.
Is that MMO? Is it MMO-ish?
Yeah. It's a free-to-play. It's MMO-ish, yeah. It's a lot like Diablo / Ultimate Alliance.
Oh, okay.
Which I like the Ultimate Alliance games. They were just button mashers. But it's free to play, so...
maybe we have to check it out, maybe.
Yeah. And Neverwinter. I'm looking forward to Neverwinter. That looks kind of cool.
On the iPad? Wait, what are you talking about?
No, Neverwinter. It's another MMO. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, God. Yeah. Jason, we're just two guys. We don't have time to look at fucking MMOs. I mean, like, even my compulsive gameplay habits make it difficult.
I know.
MMOs is like, So
we've never been able to give MMOs their fair shake because we just don't have time.
Yeah, I mean, with two.
But these two look
people.
Cool.
Well, I don't know. Maybe we could just do Marvel in your spare time, and now that we don't have a release schedule, we could do it. Of course, I don't know how you're going to do anything in the next few months because we're going to E3 like next week. And
oh, Jesus.
Yeah, I can't.
Yeah, about that, I can't. I got a thing.
No, you fucking don't.
I do have things.
You have shit.
I have lots of things, but okay, I'll go to E3.
I will give the listeners your home address, and they can get their Barmageddon money back in trade. Jason, we would just say that.
Oh, really? You know what? That's fine, but I keep a machete by the front door.
It's going to be like the terrible gamer zombie apocalypse outside of your house.
Exactly. We just want to play games with you.
Just games. Well, I tell you what, today we've got a very specific thing on the agenda because everybody in the world has been asking, they've been asking me, I don't know if they've been asking you as well, I'm pretty sure they have, what we think about the Xbox One and that conference because that all went down last week when, there was a different show on a different place on the internet. But before we do that, I have this thing that I think, have you read that apparently they're going to be excavating the landfill where all the ET cartridges are supposed to be buried?
What?
Yeah.
Really?
Okay, so...
Like those were buried for a reason.
I feel like it's going to be like the Ark of the Covenant or something. Like they're going to have to uncover the big tomb.
Oh yeah, the game. It's so shitty. Don't look directly at it. Close your eyes.
Yeah, but it's apparently the landfill in New Mexico, and it's. I mean, I just glanced over this article, but apparently, like the fact that this stuff is all buried there, it's. Correct me if I'm wrong, Jason, but it's kind of like urban legend right now, right? Like it's a story that's been passed around, but it's never like nobody's ever confirmed it. So I think this is. I mean, this is like the gaming equivalent of finding Jimmy Hoffa, I guess. Like, I don't know what they expect to find. Like, the best case scenarios are just going to find like millions of cartridges of a crappy game that nobody liked back in the old days.
What if something horrible has happened? I mean, it's out there in the desert. What if there was like some nuclear testing and those games have evolved and now they're going to unleash them into the world and everyone's going to be besieged by crappy ET cartridges?
Oh shit! It's like Skynet Hulk, like Hulknet or Sky Hulk, something like that.
Sky Hulk.
Yeah, just a giant monster, like a giant fucking like kaiju monster made out of ET cartridges that just ravages New Mexico.
Yeah, it's
that sounds cool. I hope that's what it is.
Let's go ahead and just pave it over.
Yeah,
and put a bunch of juggalos in there while you're at it, and then pave it again, and then set it on fire, and then pave that over.
I think we should dig them up and then take them to Centralia and then bury them all in the burning coal mine.
No, that place
ground.
Is haunted, man.
Well, yeah, but then it could be
Silent Hill. You don't want that. You don't want to feed it anything.
No, feed it the bad video games. Then it could be like all the ghosts of awful video games reside in this one town that has like 3 people living in it.
No, if you're the guy responsible for that, then you come back and you load up your Xbox and all of your games are E.T. Like every one of them.
They've all turned in, oh God, oh, the humanity.
I've mentioned this before. Some people don't believe it, but it's true.
What's that?
When I was a kid, I actually finished E.T.
Oh yeah? What happens at the end? You just collect all the Reese's Pieces, right? And then it's like a winner is you, and that's it?
No, the spaceship. You get in the spaceship takes off.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
That was it?
That's it. Yep.
How long does it take to finish E.T.?
I think you could do it pretty quickly, but I don't remember. I mean, this was like when the game first came out, so But yeah, I don't think it's hard once you're able to determine what you're supposed to do. Mm-hmm. But it took that kind of kid intuition where it's like that makes things like Dragon Ball Z make sense. Where it's just like, oh yeah, of course this is what you're supposed to do. Where adults just, that part of their brain is shut off and they can't make sense of things that aren't naturally supposed to fit together.
Well, and here's this thing I never got a chance to play ET when I was a kid, mostly because I had a cheap 2600 knockoff, so I didn't actually have a 2600. Grandma had one, but we only got to play that in the summertime. But I've played a bunch of 2600 games, and there are some good 2600 games. There are also a lot of really incredibly shitty 2600 games that I'm like, how shitty is E.T. to be considered like the worst 2600 game?
It's not the worst. It was the one that was supposed to be really good, but was really bad.
So
but it isn't the worst one. It just had higher expectations.
So was the Aliens Colonial Marines of its day. Is that what you're saying?
Maybe so. You may have something there. But yeah, there were only like, out of Atari 2600 games, there were only a handful of legitimately good ones. But most of it's just nostalgia, It's they don't hold up.
Don't they? I mean, it's been a while since I played anything. I remember getting like super high one time and playing Yar's Revenge, and it was like I was able to see into the souls of other people.
Yar's Revenge is one of those that holds up.
That one, and what's the one where they have like the 4? It's like on each corner of the screen, you've got a little castle, and you're shooting at the other. Warlords. That one's really good too.
Yeah, they actually released that on in a combo pack on the PS2, I think it was a couple of years ago. Mm-hmm. And I played the hell out of that with a friend of mine. God, we had a good time.
Was it the 2600 version? Because I know they did like a revamped version. I think it was
this was like the arcade version. It was originally an arcade game, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. Well, because there was another thing that I've always meant to go back and look at was apparently there was a Yar's Revenge sequel or something that came to XBLA a few years ago.
Really?
Yeah,
I never did play that. I might have to look into that.
That's really bizarre. But you know what? Let's go ahead and stop dicking around with the 2600. Let's look to the future of the Xbone.
Is that what they're calling it?
Well, yeah, there's been a lot of different ways of pronouncing that, but Xbone is the one that I like the most because, okay, listen, we're a little bit late on this. I know this joke has been made already, but like, that's a really confusing fucking name. I mean, up until the announcement of this press conference, if I said the Xbox One to you, you know what I was talking about, right?
Yeah, totally.
The original Xbox.
Oh yeah,
right.
Exactly. That's what I would think.
Yeah, and now it's like the Xbox One. Oh god, yeah. It's going to be a problem. I'm calling it the Xbox.
If only that was the majority of their problems.
Right. Well, so I think the first thing that I kind of wanted to I got it on the agenda here is like you watched it and I watched it, but we didn't really ever get a chance to podcast about it. Just the overall presentation that they did. Not any of the specific stuff that's come out since then, but just like you watched part of it, right? Or you told me that you were watching it and kept turning it off and coming back to it.
Yeah, I kept looking back. I'm like, okay, still boring.
Yeah.
Okay, what is? Oh, it's hey, you know that thing that was supposed to work on the last generation, that Kinect thing? Mm-hmm. Well, now it works like it was supposed to work, but now you have to have it.
Yeah. Oh,
fuck you.
The Kinect.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm all over the place. I can't even pick a target on this fucking thing.
Well, it's okay. See, this is the thing about the conference is I actually, I after it happened, I was talking with John Sitton from over on Geek Bombast about this, and he was very like easygoing. Like he wasn't. I mean, there was a lot of kind of gamer ire out there about that conference, and he was very forgiving. And the thing that I kept trying to explain is that like, okay. I understand. There are people out there that like watch TV. I don't have cable, and I buy shit off Amazon. You know, like you don't have cable either, right?
No, I do not. I do not. I also do not have a fantasy basketball league.
I think it's racquetball is what they were showing, right? This is a new EA Sports racquetball game that they have coming up.
Yeah, exactly.
No, it's tetherball. But like. As somebody who doesn't really give two shits about the dying medium of television, and somebody who also does not give that many shits about sports, there wasn't a whole fuck of a lot for me to get interested in that conference.
No, it was. I was watching and it's like, okay, look, we're trying to make it the hub of your home entertainment. I'm like, yeah, okay, great. Apple's been trying to do that for 30 goddamn years, but whatever, fine. It's finally happening. Okay, and they got in with the games, and rather than taking it from the top down, they're starting from the bottom up. They started small, with a game console, and then They started adding functionality to it. And so it's becoming this, the center of the living room, or whatever the hell the marketing guys are calling it. And then they're like, hey, but don't forget the games. And to talk about the games, here's the fucking devil. It's like, here's the head of EA, and I was just like, no.
It would have been. Are you saying that it would have been a better PR move if they had marched like zombie Hitler out on stage to announce the new games?
Yeah, and here is a Cambodian orphan who's going to announce all of these new sports games, and then we're going to shoot him in the fucking head right on the stage.
Which, I guess the whole thing is, I mean, apparently, and I wasn't aware of this because I was kind of busy with a few other things, but as in the lead up to this conference, apparently there were numerous press releases from Microsoft saying like, hey, guys, this conference is not going to be about games. It's going to be about getting everything that you have to talk about at E3 out of the way so that at E3 we can just talk about games. And I think about that statement and I go, okay, that's fine and everything, but if this conference was designed from the ground up to be all the boring parts of E3 that you don't give a shit about, well, why am I supposed to be excited? Like, after I got done watching that, people were like, oh, are you excited? I'm like, no.
I know. I had people texting me, do you have a boner right now? And I was like, Dad, why are you texting me? Is this about the Xbox thing? And he's like, what's the Xbox? And it was weird. It was really weird. No, I had people ask me, are you excited? Are you excited? And I'm like, no, I don't care. Show me the games. And I love that. We had 17 new games at launch?
Was it 15 original IPs or 15 exclusive IPs, and I think what they said 7 of them are not sequels. I think that was.
And we're going to show you one of them. And guess what? FMV. It's like, what the fuck is it 1993 again?
Well, it was, I mean, the whole thing was such a goddamn tease because they were like, and then they bring up and here's Halo, and like, oh, here's a video. I mean, it's not my favorite video game of all time. I like the last Halo, like, whatever. But I was like, all right, a video game. It's a TV series. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I like Remedy, and I like the stuff that they do, and I think the idea of having some kind of, like, because as I understand it, some kind of cross-pollination of some kind of TV series combined with some kind of either episodic or a game that ties in, Defiance, and but I mean, I think that if somebody did that right. And the whole Halo thing, I think that if there was a weekly series that I could watch for free on my console that then was accompanied by, like, what if there was a Walking Dead, like, sub-series that actually tied into the Telltale Games game, that where every week they were basically filling in the gaps between sections of game with a well-produced TV show. That's legitimately exciting to me. Not the sort of thing that I want to take up, like, 10 minutes of an hour-long conference about.
Exactly.
Yeah, so, I mean, there's a lot of people out there saying, well, wait for E3 before you get upset, and I'm kind of feel like I'm in both camps. Like, I definitely want to see what Microsoft has to put out there at E3. Like, I'm really excited about that, but at the same time, if your focus in this market right now is for video games, how could you not be kind of disappointed watching that?
Yeah, and I didn't realize that wasn't going to be about video games. So, and that's the thing. I've kind of come to terms with with how everything went down. Mm-hmm. You had a lot of people I follow and communicate with on Twitter who were saying, well, this is the end of the consoles. And, I mean, some of them are, bona fide game journalists who are saying this. And I was with them at first, but then I started thinking, no, they know the gamers are going to come, which, well, okay, that might not be true, but it's still going to play games. It's still going to have the complete game support that the 360 did, plus some. They're just focusing on all of this other stuff. It's just, I don't know, everyone jumped on it, and it's like, who were all the people at this thing? Who was there covering this? Game journalists. So, what do you think they're going to say?
Well, actually, it's funny because I heard that that in the audience makeup for that conference was like the people in the kind of the front, like, dozen rows or whatever were all game journalists, but everybody else in that arena were Microsoft employees, like the people who worked on it. And there was actually Jeff Gerstmann over at GameSpot. I think he tweeted that most of the applause that you were hearing during that event was coming from, like, the back of the auditorium of the people that had worked on the actual console. But you know what? You make a good point, and it's something that I haven't heard anybody talking about that I've been thinking about for the last few days, and it's a little bit out of order, but fuck it. We'll just go for it. And that is, like, I've been thinking about how, when you think back to getting a new console, there used to be, and I'm not even saying this, let's get to the end before we crucify me, but you think about the jump between the original 8-bit NES and the Super Nintendo. Like, in graphical fidelity and the number of colors and the way that the music and stuff was new. Like, it was legitimately, you had never seen anything like that before. And then the jump from those consoles to, like, the 3D, the PlayStation 1 and Saturns and stuff like that, where you're suddenly moving from a 2D arena of gaming into a 3D arena of gaming that was just like, when it came out, it was like the goddamn future. You were just like, what the fuck? I have literally never seen anything that looks like that before. That's awesome.
Yes.
And then from that generation to your Xbox, PlayStation 2, there was a jump in the fidelity of, like, shaders so that your 3D models were starting to look less like fucking, abominations unto mankind and more like actual human beings. So, you could suddenly make this jump to where you had people that were more lifelike, could emote a little bit better. And from there, in the last generation, we had the jump from SD to HD. So, you got your brand new TV with higher resolution than you've ever had before. You plug your shit into it. You're just like, oh, God, I've never seen a game that looks this crisp before. And the problem that I'm having with this current generation shift is I don't know what I'm getting for buying into the Xbox One and the PS4 right now. Like
you're going to be able to watch basketball and do your fantasy basketball league at the same time. I told you that.
which is why I think it's like on the PlayStation 4 event, they had all that emphasis on being able to share and kind of social aspects and stuff like that. And the Xbox One seemed to be media hub and all that stuff. The problem, I think, comes in that the demographic for these consoles has dramatically changed over the course of this generation, especially with, I think, things like the Wii that we're trying to bring in more casual folks, and with services like Netflix streaming that weren't there at the beginning of this generation. You know, you've suddenly started to see just the makeup of your audience change dramatically to the point where I want to see, is this petulant, Jason? I just want to see a game that looks like nothing I've ever seen before.
Yeah, but I mean, aren't we coming to the point where upgrades and like graphics and stuff like that become? Are you talking graphics? Is that what you mean?
Kind of. I mean, it'd be easy to fall into that trap of saying just graphics, but the thing is that while a lot of the shifts that I was talking about between those different generations they seemed to key off of the graphical fidelity that you were getting, what it really meant was more immersion into the world because of the graphics. Is that because you went from the PlayStation 2 where you kind of had to use your imagination a little bit, blah, 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 to then getting into like really kind of very realistic looking worlds and stuff in the jump from the PS2, Xbox One era to the PS3, Xbox 360 era. Like what it meant was the graphics were part of it, but because that jump in graphics became the norm, I feel like it gave you more of a sense of immersion into the games.
Yeah. Well, maybe we're past the point of punctuated evolution when it comes to big leaps. Maybe there really aren't any big leaps to be made anymore unless there's some massive technological breakthrough, like, I don't know, quantum computing or something like that. Maybe it's just going to be a long, steadily increasing gradient of improvements that we won't really notice unless we look at a game from 5 years ago versus a game now.
Well, and it's interesting because when I think about that, what comes into my mind is that if we aren't going to get like a giant, if we aren't looking at a quantum leap in graphics technology, which I understand, the margin for return on the hardware is starting to get way lower and way lower and way lower, that then like my focus as a gamer tends to be towards who has better indie game support, because the AAA stuff is starting to get weird, man. Like, it's getting real safe. It's getting real homogenized.
Yeah, it is. I mean, that's both of the games that I was really excited about that I bought after we played them over at your place. I went and downloaded, and they are not available on shelves.
Yeah.
So I don't know that they're quite indie games. I mean, one of them was Call of Juarez, but it was a $15 download-only game, and I'm way more interested in that than Crysis 3, Fuse, well, not that there's much that's come out. Hell, I think I'm more interested in those than I am Remember Me or The Last of Us. Well, okay, maybe not. Maybe not The Last of Us. But,
that's a bold statement, my friend. You might want to back that one up.
Yeah. But, we still got a little bit of adventurousness. But I think that, they are becoming homogenized and stuff like that. Everything is becoming safer. But you start seeing game development companies, and this might be just a matter of success, like kind of the winners write history. The game development, console development companies in particular have they're very stuck on gimmicks, and they always have been. You had Rob the Video Robot, and then you had the light gun. You don't really see light guns anymore.
Yeah.
And we've got the Kinect and the Motion Plus, and
let us not forget the 6-axis and how glorious that was.
And then you've got the stuff that projects the like peripheral stuff around your TV or whatever in the room. I can't remember what it's called.
I don't know.
I can't remember what it's called, but it's like, all of those things are gimmicks to me, but then again, I think they might just be gimmicks because they really didn't catch on like wildfire.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know, or maybe it's just because I didn't really care for them. The Wii caught on, pretty fantastically, and so maybe a lot of people don't think that that's a gimmick at all. Maybe it's just my perception, but I don't know. Maybe it's just something that people really like. I think maybe. That the next big leap is when we start getting the Oculus Rift in our hands.
That I've heard. Oh man, I really wish that I had the spare money to kickstart that, to get one of those, because I've heard some really interesting stuff about those. But to be honest, like, okay, All right, Jason, I know how this is going to sound coming out of my mouth, all right? But
Yeah, you're going to sound like an old, stupid person.
no, I'm going to sound like the devil, and you're going to try to strangle me through Skype. But one of the more interesting things that is coming out that I am kind of interested in is the Kinect. Just drop the microphone. Jason.
Fuck you, Jeff.
Jason, come back.
Fuck you. No.
Come back. No, wait. Bear with me, man. Just bear with me. All right. Listen, you know me. You know I don't like to stand up in my living room and flail around and shit like that. Like I think that's fucking stupid.
Well, you do, but only when you're like doing the peyote thing.
Right. Well,
not for video games.
Yeah, not for video games. Like I don't want to play video games like that. But like I talked about this a little bit before, and it's the idea that if every Xbox is sold with a Kinect, then all developers can assume that you have that functionality. And to be honest, I'm really, really like the part of the Kinect that I'm interested in is not tracking your skeleton around the room and making you wave your hands over your head like you're fucking crazy person. What I'm interested in is the microphone, because I think that there's ways that you could change, like if you could have a conversation with an NPC in a game directly where they give you a line and you just read whichever line you want to have, and then that NPC in the game just directly answers you, like they're looking directly into the screen. That could be something that could really up the immersion level without making you stand up and jump around. And up until now, the Kinect has been a peripheral, so it's like developers can't assume that you have it. So by selling it with every console, they can do that. The other thing is that, and this is like, when you read this shit, it's the creepiest fucking thing ever. But have you read anything about how like the new Kinect can like tell if you're smiling? Or like
yeah, and can like detect your pulse.
Mm-hmm. But see, the thing is that I always had this idea back when Nintendo announced the Wii Vitality sensor that wouldn't it be cool if you had a horror game like the Silent Hill game on the Wii that was able to monitor your biological response and it could figure out what was scary to you because it could see or sense essentially when you were scared and then inject more of that stuff, and then when it started to become when it started to lose its effect on you, that it would change it up and make it different. I mean, like, there's some interesting ideas there for the game being able to sense what is effective and what is not effective to the player and change accordingly. And I think
combine both of those, combine all of those things, and you've got the pulse sensor and your voice, and it's like, Jeff is screaming like a little bitch. Let's put more spiders on the screen.
Well, then you add in the whole social media aspect, and it's like it could constantly be streaming my girly screams through Ustream so that all of my friends on the Xbox list could see it. So yeah, I mean,
does it have a wetness detection to know when you pissed yourself?
The more I think about this, like Oculus Rift and the Kinect and like the motion sensors and stuff, and I'm like, I'm going to have to get a doctor to come over to my house to hook me up to my console at a certain point.
You're going to look like Drago in Rocky 4.
That's right.
On this treadmill hooked up to all this shit. You look like Weapon X.
Okay.
Only not naked and running through the snow.
No, I'm naked running through the snow. That's good. I want the TV on my head, and
Yes.
But I don't know. I mean, like the part of like I'm all in favor of if we're going to be adding new input methods to games, like I don't think that there's very many more things you can put on a controller and feasibly expect people to deal with.
Yeah.
So
there's a lot of potential there, and the fidelity of a lot of the motion control stuff, whether it's on the Wii or the PS3 or via the Kinect, a lot of that, the kinks still need to be ironed out. It's still a little wonky, doesn't quite, it's not smooth, and it seems like this, like the new Kinect, will really kind of iron a lot of those out. So we've got a lot of this technology here, and I think what it's going to come down to is, to use the verbiage, a killer app that just ties it all together. And that is if the hardware works as advertised. Because, I don't know, I think a lot of people, like myself, were kind of disappointed. Like Allison was trying to play Okami on the Wii. Mm-hmm. And it was kind of a pain in the ass to get the hang out of making those brushstrokes with the Wiimote. If you stick with it, from what I understand, it becomes a lot easier. But I didn't think it had just that really finite or fidelity that that I'm looking for motion control, you know. And a lot of the stuff on Kinect, as we have seen and as other people have witnessed us flailing about with, it's like, okay, I move my hand to the from across the screen horizontally. It didn't work. Okay, I'm gonna do it again. I'm gonna do it more vehemently this time. I'm gonna do it again.
Fuck you, Kinect. I'm not playing this game anymore.
Yeah. Oh, okay, there, it worked. Okay, okay. Now what do I? And that's a lot of it. So if they can get those ironed out and then have a genuinely good game, that takes advantage of it, then we could really see those things catch on. But they've got a long way to go still. They got a lot to prove.
Yeah, and for me, I'm like, I every time that they try to pitch you a new kind of control surface, my question is always like, this needs to not be a replacement for the existing control set in my mind. I want to augment with this stuff. So
yeah.
Like,
I mean, the existing control scheme has been around a long time for a reason.
Yeah, exactly. And so they're like, oh, well, now it's so immersive because you get to wave your arms around and shit. And I'm just, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I want to press the right trigger. But like other stuff that we heard about, like in the Xbox One conference, they talk about having force feedback, which, as I understand it from interviews, is basically just rumble specifically on each one of the triggers. The right and left trigger, like, that's it's a small thing, but it could be just, I like rumble. I think rumble is a nice addition that gives you a little bit more.
I never cared.
Don't care.
No.
Yeah.
It never caught on, like the rumble packs and everything, like in the N64 era and all that.
Mm-hmm.
It never did anything for me. I was like, okay, you're shaking, great, whatever.
So what you're saying is that LA Machine Guns just didn't mean anything to you? Like they play that game for 30 minutes and your whole arm is numb because the gun.
Yeah, that's a different experience. But yeah, in the controllers, I don't know. You had a couple of games that were really using rumble packs as like a game mechanic.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was interesting, but honestly, I don't really notice it if I'm into the game. Mm-hmm. Kind of like with 3D in a movie. If it's done really poorly, it ruins the movie. If it's done really well, you stop noticing it.
Oh, 3D. Hey, maybe with this new console generation, they will finally stop trying to sell us all a 3D television.
Oh, let's hope.
But I have heard that like the Oculus Rift, with having the two separate screens so close to your eyes, that they can do kind of simulated 3D.
Oh yeah, that's totally doable.
Yeah,
it's. I know there are a couple of different types of 3D. I can't remember the names and how they're different, but using like the two different screens like that, one in each eye, is a common way to do it.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's how the 3DS works. It's got that separated screen. That's why you can only hold it in a certain place, because it's got the two screens one for each one of your eyes.
Yeah, really thought that one through, didn't you, Nintendo?
But you know what? Let's quit dancing around the thing, Jason. Let's talk about the used game market and the Xbox One.
Right.
Because
like what thing? What thing?
Because that seems to be, and you know what? I went out before we did this, and I looked and I looked and I looked, and there seems to be no goddamn end of confusion to what the fuck is going on with the used game market on the Xbox One. Because
there's been a lot of contradictory information come out. It seemed like Wired was the first I heard of it, right?
Yep. That was as soon as the conference was over, they had a story that they published.
Yeah, said that they had spent a significant amount of time at Microsoft for the last couple of days checking out the Xbox One. Mm-hmm. And they said that all games will install to the hard drive from a disk, of course. And after you install to the hard drive, obviously you're not going to be able to take that disk and let someone else borrow it, because then you just have, you've bought it once and 80 people now own it, which, no, that's that in itself, that little portion is not fair. But then you loan it to someone else, and they have to pay some sort of activation fee. And I thought that Wired came to this from firsthand experience, and as a very reliable source, because they were brought there to talk about this, or to examine it. So it's not like they heard it from a source or anything. So that seems pretty cut and dried. But now we have Major Nelson or whatever coming out and saying, "Oh, that's not what's really going to happen," and blah blah blah. And I'm like, okay, you're not changing your mind just a few months before launch. I know that. So the other option is that you're full of shit. You're full of shit.
Well, okay. You know what I think it is? I mean, like, here's the thing. Sony has come out. There was an interview, and you know what? I need to bring this up because I don't want to talk about this without having the exact verbiage in front of me. But there was a thing that said there was a thing from I think it was the CEO of Sony saying that Jack Tretton totally opposed to blocking used games. There have been some stories out there that basically say the PS4 will totally play used games, and there's actually been a few stories from Microsoft saying that the Xbox One will totally play used games. If I'm going to put on my conspiracy hat here, and I'm wildly speculate that I'd be willing to bet that this is going to be a publisher question, not a console question. I'd be willing to bet that the reason that we're seeing the online pass thing go away is because the game. I mean, what they seem to say is that you put the disc in, the game installs in your Xbox One, and then you take the disc out, you play the thing on your Xbox One forever. But it's going to keep pinging some kind of server to make sure that you're online and that nobody else is playing this game. Kind of like the way that Windows activation is right now.
Right.
And if you put that disc into your console and then you go to activate it, whether there's a fee or not seems to be in question. I can't seem to find a definitive statement or article, but that what they definitely seem to want to do is that if I give you the game and you put it on your system and you install it, that the next time that my console hits up the internet, it's going to go, well, somebody else owns that game now, so you're turned off until you put the disc back in and go.
Yeah. Why can't we just stick with physical media? And then you have publishers and developers saying, well, it cheats us out of money. Oh, fuck you. Buying used products is just the nature of our economy. You don't see Chevy going, why'd you buy a used Chevy? That's not fair. We don't get any money. Oh, suck it up, you entitled cunt.
Well, that's a good point. There's this question. I mean, there's this kind of battle lines, I guess, have been drawn. When you say, like, you know, that game developers, by and large, don't like, and two, don't give a shit about the used game market, because once you're done buying the game from them, all you're doing is lining GameStop's pockets with money. You know, when you buy a used game, you're not giving any money back to the publisher. You're just giving this terrible, terrible fucking place your money to, so that they buy a game for $5 off of me when I come in and trade it in, and they sell it to you for $40, you know, with a fucking 400% markup, and none of that money ever gets back to the people who were, like, working on the games. And I understand that that's very difficult. On the other hand, if your business model for making games has come to a point where you have to worry about somebody buying your product and consuming it within 48 hours, and then there's a total market for them to sell it back, if there's not enough value in the game that you're purchasing to keep you from selling it back after 48 hours, then I'm with you, man. That's kind of on those guys. Like, you know, I'll tell you what, when I bought Fuse and we played it, I could see it being a game where you just play it through, then you take it back and go, yeah, fuck it, I don't want this anymore. I mean, when I was young and before GameStop became like crazy draconian, they used to take returns within 5 days. And I used to do that because I wanted to play all the games. I would buy a game, I'd bring it home, I'd play it, I'd bring it back for store credit until they finally told me to fuck off, that I couldn't trade this back in for 100% store credit again.
Whores.
But you got to think about, like, did you this is a great question to illustrate this point. Jason, when you were playing Skyrim, would you ever consider trading that game in?
No.
Right, because there's a gajillion hours and total huge amounts of replay value. It isn't some just like shovelware crap that's been pooped out, that, you know, where they sold you on a cool trailer and a promise, and then you played the game and it's 4 hours long and you don't give a shit about the tacked on multiplayer. So you're like, this wasn't worth $60. I don't want it anymore. Of course, exactly. I want to sell it back.
Yeah, and a lot of that is personal taste. You know, some people like to collect or what have you, but yeah, like I've said before, I rarely go back and play a game after I'm done with it or after I've finished it or whatever. But there are some that, I just want to keep around, and I think those are all, of course, good games.
Mm-hmm.
So if you make really good games, then I'm probably not going to want to get rid of it.
Or on the flip side, if you want to make a middling, like kind of garbage shovelware, like going through the motions type of game, I'll be more than happy to pay between $10 to $15 on Xbox Live or the PlayStation Network for your. I mean, like let's take Call of Juarez. Like Call of Juarez has some interesting stuff going on. If it was $60, it would probably not be worth $60, but it's $15. Like if I could buy 4 middle of the road games for $15, I don't want to necessarily trade those in. Like I got no problem with that.
Sure.
You know, as opposed to spending $60 and then getting home with this $60 video game and putting it in your console and going, oh, shit. You know, I got fucked again, essentially.
Yeah, and stop being unfriendly to consumers. And you said it quite well that Sony has been rather quiet on this whole thing.
Yeah.
And all they need to do is just wait, and when if Xbox announces, yes, you are going to have to pay a fee or whatever, it's like, you know, Sony can just say, yeah, you can just pass the game around like you used to be able to and sell it, trade it, give it to your friends, whatever. Doesn't matter.
See, I was thinking about that. That can't happen. Like, I'm sorry, folks who think that can happen. It cannot happen, because what would happen if that was the case is you wouldn't see any more EA games or Activision games on the PlayStation 4. Because those guys are really hardcore committing. I mean, EA is the company that made the online pass. They've been trying to do everything in the world to basically double charge you, you know, if you sell a used game back. Like they started that shit. And they are basically, I mean, they're letting the online pass go, but I think it's only because there's something else coming up in the future. So the thing is that if they have a business strategy moving forward, they're going to be pushing this reactivating used games for a fee thing. Then if Sony says, well, fuck a bunch of that, then EA is going to say, well, fuck a bunch of you. You know, like, why are we, and what, then you're going to be looking at, well, why are we going to get, we're not going to get Call of Duty. Like what? Sony's going to pass up on the next Call of Duty game? I don't think so. Yeah,
I guess the developers do have a lot of clout still, you know? 'Cause, yeah, it's like, in spite of the fact that they're moving, you know, or branching outwards, I don't think they're moving away from games.
And
I know I've made a big deal about, you know, knifing Randy Pitchford or something like that, but I think at E3, my new goal may be challenging John Riccitello to Kumite.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I think so. Bloodsport.
But, you know, it's funny because I wanted to briefly talk about some scenarios that I don't feel have been thought of for this whole used game thing.
Oh, God.
Well, no, this is actually good things. It's like, okay, the whole thing has been so goddamn obfuscated. Let's go off what the original Wired article said, okay? Which is basically, you put the disc in, it installs on your system. Then you take the disc out, you sell it back to GameStop. Somebody else buys it and brings it home. They activate it, and there's going to be some sort of fee for them to activate it. When they activate it, it deactivates it on your console, and you can't play it anymore. In my mind, the real serious question, like the biggest question that should be answered here, and the fact they haven't answered is what makes me upset, is what is that fee? Because if that fee is the current market price of the game,
yeah. What if it's just 25 cents? You know, it's like, guys, it's 50 cents. That's it.
Or what if it's like an online pass? What if it's $10 and they just say, now we can concentrate on making single player games, don't have a shoehorned in multiplayer section, because we can essentially get some money back. And what that would, I mean, I you know, call me crazy, man, but I like that idea, because it means that GameStop's going to have to drop the price of everything by $10. Like, they can't sell a used game for $55 new, because it's going to be $65 when you get it home. So they're going to have to drop the price of their games to match that, and then that $10 doesn't go into GameStop's pocket. It goes into, I mean, I don't want to paint GameStop as the bad guy and EA as the good guy. But if I had to choose between giving $10 to GameStop or $10 to fucking EA, I'd rather give it to EA.
I'm going to give it to EA. Yeah, that's the thing. It's it's like, okay, there's so. You walk into an empty room and there is, there's a child molester and he is fighting Hitler. It's like, oh my God, I don't know who I want to win. Maybe they can both die. Can they both lose? Does it work that way? I don't know.
Oh God, I hope
it's
so.
tough. It's tough.
Isn't that an episode of that MTV like celebrity wrestling claymation thing?
It should be EA versus GameStop, and then you and I storm the arena with axes and just start chopping motherfuckers up.
It's funny you say that. I was just watching Kung Fu Hustle yesterday.
Oh.
But I guess the other thing to maybe think about is there have been a lot of people. I mean, I think this whole situation has been part of essentially the digital distribution growing pains. And I think that it's funny because, you know me, man. I'm a big fan of Steam, right?
Oh, yeah. That's putting it lightly.
Steam doesn't really do anything any differently than we've heard. I mean, Steam, of course, is software and not an entire platform. So it's not like you have to spend $500 on a console just to be able to use the Steam service. But the thing about Steam is that I was very wary about them when they first started up, but that Steam has been smart because, like, if you pre-purchase a game, they give you $5 off pretty much all the time. There's always a discount incentive to do a pre-purchase of a game, which I'm not really a big fan of pre-buying games, but at least there's something there. And then, the other thing is that they have those sales every weekend.
Oh, man, they've got stuff that's just ridiculously cheap.
Right. And I think that if Microsoft could just like let me know, if they could convince me that that's what we're going to do, that when fucking Elder Scrolls 6 comes out, that it's going to be $60 when it's new, but then 6 months later, after all the people who are going to buy it are already going to buy it, it's going to be $30 or $20 or something like that. Then I think that they would have. I think they'd have a much stronger leg to stand on, because they could say, like, look, if your biggest concern about used games is that you don't have enough money to buy every game at full price when it comes out brand new, which is a lot of people like that, then as long as there's a set time frame where after a certain amount of time this game's going to drop in price and you could pick it up for the cheap, then you essentially have kind of a similar ecosystem to what happens with the used game market. It's just that most of the money is going back to the publisher and the developers and not this third-party entity.
Yeah. I mean, really what it boils down to is all of this hand-wringing and gnashing of teeth may very well be just a moot point. We don't know yet. A lot of it has to do with greater technological and IT issues that the country faces, being that our internet infrastructure is, not at the best in the world.
Yeah.
Far from it. Once it does get there, will we see physical media, not just games, but games, movies, music, and everything, completely go away? Mm-hmm. We're already seeing a lot of that with songs, but songs are very small, singles and MP3s and what have you. Movies and games are a whole different ballpark. So this all may be just a completely moot point, and everything might be very well like Steam, where the whole being angry at not being able to resell it or whatever is just, it doesn't even matter. It doesn't even occur to you because it's just data that you've pulled off the pipe.
There's also an idea that I've heard floating around out there that what if Microsoft has a way for you to essentially sell your game back to them? What if you can give them the license to your game and they give you like $10 worth of Microsoft points that you can apply to activating the license on any other game that you may have?
Yeah.
But
they won't. I don't think they will, but then again, they kind of have to because Steam. you know?
Well, Steam,
I'm so glad that Steam has the stranglehold that it does.
Yeah, I mean, and that's another thing just to remember is that you can't trade your shit in on Steam.
Right.
It's,
right.
Like I've got a huge library full of stuff. I can't give any of it to anybody else. So I guess the only other things to maybe talk about for the Xbox One is we have the question, which I've once again conflicting reports about the fact that it has to do an online check once a day. Once every 24 hours, it has to do an online ping to a server.
What does that mean exactly?
Basically, I mean, part of the whole license problem is that if you could install the game and then verify it and then just turn the internet off to your console, then you could play it forever. You could play that game because it would never have a chance to re-authenticate. So I think that part of it is that, and there's been some back and forth as to whether it's 24 hours, whether it's a different set of days, but that every 24 hours, your Xbox has to go out to Microsoft servers and say, hey, here's all my licenses. Is this still cool?
What if it doesn't?
Then you can't play your games. Single player, multiplayer, nothing. Doesn't matter.
That's so fucked.
Yeah.
What if I'm stuck? What if I move into a house and I don't have internet yet?
There are a lot of use case scenarios for this. What if you're in the military where you don't have internet all the time? What if you're taking over to somebody's house? I mean, this is the problem that we've always had with the question of you've always got to be online. What happens if there's a DDoS attack against Microsoft servers? What if they have to take Xbox Live down for maintenance and it's an hour before you have to do your 24-hour check, and so you miss out on the check and you're in the middle playing a single-player game and it just stops? Like, no matter what the use case scenario is, there is no way in this world that any of us are not going to be apocalyptically pissed off the first time that you're in the middle of playing a single-player fucking video game and your console just goes, hey, sorry, could go to Microsoft, fuck you.
I'm going up to Washington or whatever, and I'm going to just burn shit. I'm just going to burn things. I'm going to get a flamethrower. I'm going to be like the pyro from TF2, and it's just everybody dies.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but once again, like Steam has to do an online check, but it's like once every 30 days. So there's a use case scenario between 24 hours and 30 days that is reasonable because, like you said, you moved into a new house. You can't get internet for 3 days. You just did that. Like, you just went through that. You had a fucking like 2 weeks where you didn't have internet?
Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, I think you get a lot of, I've seen statements rolling around there. There was some guy from Microsoft I think got fired or something. It was just like, I don't know who the fuck doesn't have internet all the time in their world. It's fucking 2013. Like, what's your problem? You need to have the internet. But, I mean, we've seen the Diablo 3 launch. We've seen the SimCity debacle. Like, we have not... these things, when they go wrong, tend to go very, very wrong, like in a way that engenders a lot of bad will towards a company. So I think that with the way they're trying to set up this new digital ecosystem, there's no way for them not to have it do an online check every so often. 24 hours may be a little bit of a short period of time. That's kind of ridiculous. I
don't like this. I don't like it at all.
Well, it's funny because I was talking with a few people about this, about how it's entirely possible that the PlayStation 4 has all of these exact same limitations.
Yeah, totally.
But Sony is just like, get to sit back there and go, like, watch all the bad will go in Microsoft's direction right now because they're the ones who've actually said this shit out loud. Which, if I was Microsoft, I mean, I would have. I don't know why you would. I don't know why you would let Wired publish an article about your new console without having some kind of copy, some kind of oversight on the copy that they were going to publish. Like, why would you let them just like write whatever they wanted to? And because it seems like as soon as that article came out, that everybody at Microsoft was like, whoa, we weren't ready to talk about that yet. And you're like, well, then why the fuck did you tell somebody at Wired magazine?
Yeah, yay for journalism.
Right?
They're not your fucking shills.
Yeah. So then the last thing to maybe go over real briefly, because we're starting to get right up to about an hour here, is the backwards compatibility issue, which do you know about this? Basically, it's very simple. Maybe. Xbox One is not compatible with any Xbox 360 games. Xbox One is also not compatible with any Xbox 360 XBLA games either.
Okay. if there's a technological reason behind it, fine.
There is.
I mean, okay, good, because for the longest time, games weren't backwards compatible. Period.
Yep.
And then they did it. What, once? what PS2 games can play PS1 games?
Okay, so
and then that was it, and now everybody just expects it.
Okay, let me ask you, because I don't have much experience with it. Was the Saturn able to play Dreamcast games?
I didn't have any of those. What am I, a fucking weirdo? Nobody owns those.
Okay,
I'm just kidding. I don't know. I don't know. I don't think so, but I could be completely wrong on that.
Because I mean, when you look at if you look at the history of backwards compatibility, it's very spotty. GBA could play original Game Boy games, and the DS originally had a slot for original Game Boy Advance games. The biggest example is that the PlayStation 2 was able to play PlayStation 1 games, and the PlayStation 3 was able to play the first generation of PlayStation 3 was able to play PlayStation 2 games and PlayStation 1 games. But
that didn't last very long.
Well, the reason for it was because they fucking took the one of the CPUs out of the PlayStation 2 and put it in the PlayStation 3. It had a version of the emotion engine from the PlayStation 2 inside of the console, which is why it was so goddamn expensive.
Yeah, and you've seen my, because that's what I have, and you've seen it. The thing is a beast. Mm-hmm. It's so heavy. It's huge. So, yeah, I mean, I get it. But now the XBLA stuff, that makes me kind of raise an eyebrow. It's like, why won't that work exactly?
Well, as I understand, okay, and this is totally, I'm really kind of out on a limb here because this hardware stuff tends to get away from me. But as I understand it, it's very much similar to the reason that we won't be able to play PlayStation 3 games on the PlayStation 4, which is the processor architecture has changed. So the Xbox 360 had a PowerPC processor, and this has an AMD 8-core APU. Now, there's a question about because the Xbox 360 originally had some emulation software that they could run an Xbox One, essentially a virtual Xbox, not Xbox One, original Xbox. God, look at that!
Yeah, see,
it fucking happened, man. But for me, I feel like the Xbox 360. The Xbox One not being able to play disc-based 360 games is not that big of a deal because they're disc-based games. So as long as you can rustle up a functional Xbox 360, you can put that game in and you can play it. On the other hand, there's going to come a day when those Xbox Live games aren't available to download anymore. They're not going to leave those servers turned on forever.
Right.
So if you have an original Xbox 360 and suddenly one day they turn off the servers and then the hard drive in that 360 goes bad, shit's gone, man. It's just gone. And I think that it's a real question about game kind of preservation that we're running into about, how are you going to be able to play Guacamelee in 10 years? Yeah,
exactly. There should be, and I know this is tricky, but there really should be a way to back it up. I mean, because like you said, those servers aren't going to be available forever. So
right.
Can you back up your own downloads? Maybe it's not available for new downloads or purchasing, but can you back it up to the cloud to say, yes, I own this game, I'd like to download it again? And I know that's more overhead on their part, but I mean, they sure as shit know that the Xbox, like the 360, not immortal.
Right.
In any stretch of the imagination.
In fact, kind of a pussy when you look at it. Like, I remember the original Xbox where they would be like, when I would rent an Xbox 360 game from GameFly, and they would send me a big red email that was like, "Hey, don't touch your Xbox while the game is playing, or you'll get a giant gouge in the disc," because that's the way that this thing was made.
Yeah. Do not provoke the Xbox. Do not taunt the Xbox. Don't look crossly at it. Don't move in the same room. Please turn off all cell phones before activating the Xbox.
I honestly think though that what's probably going to happen with those sort of things. I mean, Sony has already announced that they want to use like the Gaikai, there's like streaming service, the kind of the on live-ish type of thing to essentially let you this also is shitty, but whatever. We don't know. Maybe there's more to it, but that you will at least be able to repurchase any Xbox or any PS3 games that you want to play, and that it can essentially emulate a PS3 and then stream that footage to you via like that Gaikai shit. I have a feeling that if there's enough Xbox 360 games that are that have been well received, that you'll probably on the Xbox One have like Xbox Classics Collection this week on XBLA. Get 6 of the best games from the Xbox 360 for $10. Like, we have reached an age where we are buying the same shit just over and over again. And
yeah. Well, it's the same way with movies, same way with music, really.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, it's
so I guess maybe we can't complain about it because it's really kind of status quo for other medias. I
would just say, I mean, like for the short term, for like say the next like 3 or 4 years, I'm going to say like if this coming generation is anything like the last generation, for the next 2 or 3 years, we're going to be in that weird hinterland where the list of consoles that the game is coming out for is going to be like 16 long. It's going to be like, it's coming out, you know, new Madden's coming out this summer for the PlayStation 3, the PlayStation 4, the Xbox 360, the Xbox One, the Wii, the Wii U, the GBA, the PS Vita, the PSP, the DS, and the 3DS, and the PC. And you're just like, oh God, I don't know. But I'd say in the short term, I mean, like, I understand that people are upset about backwards compatibility. If you look at the history of it, it's not always been the biggest priority. Like if my old Super Nintendo broke, I would have a hard time getting a new Super Nintendo. It's just that's kind of a fact of the way that games work.
Well, fortunately, we're starting to see a lot of those like clone machines, those third-party ones that are able to play Super Nintendo. You can get them for like $60 or whatever. Like I've got an FC Twin that plays 8-bit and 16-bit Nintendo games.
Woo! But I mean, I would just say like people that are concerned about this. If the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360 go anything like the PlayStation 2 and the Xbox did, those things will be in development. And they maybe one more hardware refresh on them, and they'll probably just get cheaper to the point where when they're around $100 or maybe like $150, it would not maybe be the worst thing in the world for you to buy one just because. If you're concerned about that sort of thing, it's maybe not the worst investment in the world to just have an extra brand new Xbox or PlayStation 3 laying around. But as far as like there's an idea of being entitled to backwards compatibility. That doesn't really even occur. I don't know if it occurs to you, Jason, but it doesn't really even occur to me anymore.
No,
because
I was disappointed at first, but it's not. You know, that was really kind of a. Backwards compatibility has only been a few blips in the larger timeline of video games as a whole.
Right. So, I think that's about it. Can you think of anything that we haven't covered that you wanted to talk about?
No, just show me the games already. Okay,
what about that?
Show me the games.
What about that sick dog, bro, in the new Call of Duty?
Great, a dog. What is it with dogs in promo videos? I mean, I love dogs, but why do you keep carting that out? You know, like they did it with the Fable. You know, look, there's a dog. Great. Okay.
They're just trying to get you, I mean, anything to emotionally manipulate you as the player into caring more about what the fuck is going on the screen.
Hey, how about a really beautifully rendered bottle of old scotch?
There you go. That'll get. We're saying that like the Kim Jong-un comes in and steals your bottle of scotch, and that's the plot for the next Call of Duty game. Is you're like, oh, you motherfucker, I'm gonna get that scotch. I'll kill 1 million people to get that fucking scotch back.
That was Glenlivet 18 year. You son of a bitch, Kim Jong-un.
This time it's personal. Well, okay, so. I tell you what, let's wrap it up. We're going to start doing a podcast, this Ragecast, every Monday. And when we start, we're going to start by hosting it on the YouTube channel. But we should have a pretty much a full-on website coming very soon. You guys, we're doing this thing kind of as fast as we possibly can and trying to get out there. But next week, we also are going to have, starting on Monday, our E3 coverage. We can't compete with IGN, so we're basically going to do as much underground. Should we hit somebody in the face with a pie? I think we got an invite to the Xbox 360 conference.
I was really excited, but then I realized you said pie and not pipe.
Oh. Well, I think they probably frisk you when you go in anymore, but maybe not into the actual show floor. Anyway, check back next week. We should have full E3, well, as much E3 coverage as we can essentially rustle up. Goddamn, I just remembered that we have to figure out a place like today or when this goes up to put in the comments for our LA meetup. We need to come to a decision about that.
Oh, yeah.
Put it off for a long time.
Oh, I've got some ideas. We'll talk about it.
Okay, cool. And then, this particular podcast in the future, we're probably going to answer some viewer emails, but it's probably not going to be quite as email focused as it used to be. So if you want to send emails in right now, you could send them to rageselect@gmail.com. It's rageselect@gmail.com. So that's it. We did a podcast, Jason.
Yay! More work to do on a regular basis.